Hello and welcome back to the Wild Wisdom Wellbeing guest slot with me, Robin Harris of Eco Energy Wellbeing Naturally. And today I'm absolutely delighted to have Maria Newman of Mummy on a Break with me. And Maria helps mums who feel like they're watching their lives from the sidelines to fully embrace life by providing them with the tools and techniques, together with tough love, to get moving in the right direction. And having taken that from your website, Maria, and having read that, and just resonated with me, because I think so often that's exactly what we're doing, isn't it? Standing on the sidelines, kind of looking at this thing and realizing that's my life. And I don't really feel involved with it. And I don't know that it's going the way that I want it to go. So if you would maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and about how you came to set up this business called Mummy on a Break and what it's all about.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Robin. It's really nice to be here talking to you, because we are on the same wavelength. We've had an amazing conversation previously, so I'm really glad that you invited me to come and speak on your podcast. So a bit about me. I'm married with 2 children and I live in Bristol. That's my basic, what are they called? My stats? I don't know. But as far as my background is concerned and how I got to where I am today, after 17 years of working for Rolls-Royce, I realised that actually the life I was leading was not the life I should have been leading. And, you know, it was like a little voice in the back of my mind, to be honest with you. It wasn't a case of I woke up one day and thought, right, that's it, I'm going to make this massive change. But it was at that point where I thought, right, okay, now is the time to do something different. Because I'd find myself sitting on the sofa, looking across at my husband and going, you know, he's got all this energy and he's going and doing things once the children have gone to bed. Yet I'm just like sat here like a sack of potatoes going, I have no energy to do anything. I'm just waiting for the time that I have to go to bed. And that is not the way we should be leading life. So I took the brave step of taking voluntary redundancy. And my intention was to spend a year finding myself or getting involved with things and really understanding what I liked, with a view, to be completely honest, going and working for someone else. However, something amazing happened, which was I found an awesome life coach. And the first question she asked me was, what do you really want to be doing? And immediately the words that came out of my mouth were, I'd like to start my own business. It's like, whoa, where did that one come from? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm from my parents and relatives. They are entrepreneurs anyway, but I'd naturally gone down the route of, you know, I'm going to work for someone else. It's safer, you know, the responsibility is sort of controlled. I'm just going to go down that route because I'd seen how difficult it was. But obviously, there was something bubbling inside me. And long story short, I started Mummy on a Break. Not immediately, other things happened, but I started Mummy on a Break because I realised that the way I'd been feeling, which was, you know, I felt like I was on this treadmill of life, you know, getting up every morning, get everyone ready, go and drop the children off at school, go to work, do my work. When work is finished, go and pick up the children, come home, make sure they're fed and watered, put them to bed. Then we eat. Then I collapse on the sofa, bedtime, and then it's Groundhog Day. It starts again. And you're like, oh, my word, how did I get myself onto this treadmill? And how do I get myself off? So I know, you know, I'm not special in that way. I'm not unique. There's a lot of mums and people that are not mums that just find themselves getting trapped in this routine. And I got myself out of it because, you know, I became aware of my situation and what I wanted to do stuff. I didn't want to be an observer of life. I didn't want to be sat in the audience watching my life play itself out. I wanted to be on the stage being the lead actor in my life, because we all should be the lead actors in our own lives because, surprise, it's our life.
Spoiler alert.
I know, it's that simple. And And the power sits in with us to make that change. You know, we don't have to be swept along with what's happening in life and just going along with things. And, you know, I haven't ever been through a crisis or a trauma in my life. Life was nice. You know, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And now I am living the life I want to be living. And every day, you know, it's not about creating the life you want and going, right, I've done it now. That's it. I'm living my life. Every day or every few months, things are changing. And, you know, your dreams get bigger or you get interested in different things. So life is an evolving thing anyway. It's not, you get to the destination, you go, yeah, I've done it. Right. Let's just get back on the treadmill and keep going. Because then it's a case of, well, what did I just do? I'm just replaying
why did I do it? What was the point?
Exactly. So, you know, now I'm all about helping mums transform so that they are in the driver's seat rather than doing the mummy juggle. That's another thing. That's another one of my pet hates now, because I do talk about the mummy juggle because we just pick up everybody else's stuff because we think we have to. And it's not about other people giving us their stuff. We voluntarily go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that because it has to be done. But does it really have to be done? So it's all about saying, you know, you may be a mum, but you are also an individual and you have the right to live the life you want. That doesn't mean, you know, you're trampling over everybody else, but it's your life. You don't want to be sat in your rocking chair, you know, when you're old and grey and the cats are all around you and you can't move, going, oh, it'd be nice if I would have done that. Shame it's too late. Who wants to be there?
Yeah, you don't want to get to the end of your life and realise that you've never lived.
Exactly. So, yeah.
They say, don't they, if you want something done, ask a busy person. And busy is the new normal, or has been anyway. I think when we hit lockdown, it kind of made everybody stop and go, whoa, that's how busy I really was. Because it's like you were saying, it's subconscious a lot of the time. We're not really paying attention to how busy we are because we don't have time. But in a sense, it's that we're not giving ourselves that time. We're not giving ourselves that space. We're not honouring the fact that we have that right, we have that sovereignty to be able to say, actually, this is my life and I want to live it. And yes, things need to get done, but I don't have to do it all. And it's hard if you are a mum and you've got little kids, because they can't do stuff for themselves. And it's so easy then, if you're the one who's at home, if your partner maybe has gone back to work, you're on maternity leave or whatever, but you get caught up in that cycle and then it's difficult to break out of it. And it's so hard, isn't it, when you set up a kind of a routine where I'm the stay-at-home parent and my partner's gone out to work, I look after the kids and I'm raising the kids and I'm doing all the home stuff and the cooking and everything that needs to be done, to then go, okay, I'm going to change that. Now that they're older, they can take some responsibility, or actually, partner, you can help here. It's a juggle, isn't it? Like you say.
It is difficult. And that's why I try to get in contact with my clients right at the beginning, because it's exactly what you've said. It happens without us realizing it's happened. We get into this routine because, exactly like you said, there's a necessity. You know, we've all of a sudden got this beautiful bundle of joy who is completely dependent on us. And, you know, we want routine in our life so that we're caring for our baby and we're doing the right thing as a mum and we're being the best mum we can be. And then before you know it,
in there too as well, don't they? So we're programmed in a sense to do that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a case of that you are still an individual, and it's how you manage that balance. And it's about appreciating that you don't have to do everything, and not everything has to be done anyway. You know, I think we're under this misconception that I have this list of things to do and I must do everything.
To this standard as well.
Yeah. And so we're just adding more pressure on ourselves, which obviously then increases our stress, is no good for us. And then we're not at our best, and therefore we can't be the best for those who we love. So it is a case of being there for mums at the early stages to first of all help them not to get locked in to that routine, or at least make them aware of where they could go. Because we know, when you first become a mum, you want someone to tell you, want someone to hand you a book and say, this is how it's done.
But the babies don't read the books.
Yeah, they don't know. And even if they could read, they say, I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
And everybody's different as well. What works for one person probably isn't going to work for someone else. We are all unique and we all have different wants and needs. So everybody as an individual needs to have their own needs and wants satisfied. So it is a case of just being self-aware, and for someone to go to you, do you know what? It's okay. Whatever you do is okay, because it's personal. Nobody has walked in your shoes. The baby you've just had, nobody else has had that individual baby, because we're all unique. And it's just, giving new mums especially just the confidence to be able to know that it's okay, and mistakes will happen, but that's okay, because we set, like you've just said, we set ourselves up. We've got high expectations. We want to be the best mum ever. We want to keep up with Mildred down the road, who seems to have it all sorted. She's getting up at 6 o'clock, baking cakes. Her children are all prim and proper. She never does anything wrong. Hair always in place, makeup spotless. She looks amazing. She goes out, this ideal person. But the thing is, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And the biggest thing, to be perfectly honest, we are all on our own journey. So it doesn't matter what Mildred's doing. She might be your friend. You can go out for a coffee with her. That's okay. But you are on your own journey. You are an individual. And what you are doing with your family is what matters.
And if it works for you and the people in your family, then it's right.
Exactly.
If everybody in your unit is working well together, then it doesn't matter what other people from the outside think or say.
This is true. This is true. And I think that's the thing, we, as women, and it's not just women, it's, it's guys as well. We can suffer from so many syndromes, and, whether it's imposter syndrome, or whether we have comparisonitis, or, it's a low self-esteem. But for me, because, we're all human. We've all had days where we're on our lows. We all have days when we're on our highs and everything's going great. But it's doing the internal work. That's for me where it all starts. Because if you are strong and comfortable on the inside, then actually it doesn't matter what happens on the outside, because you are in a better place to manage what those external factors is, whether you're thrown a curveball, or heaven forbid we go through a pandemic. For me, and it's a daily practice as well. I think this is the other misconception people have. They're like, well, if I want to be confident, I just get to the point I'm confident, and then that's it, I stop. No. It's a continual practice. It's all of these little attributes and qualities. They're like muscles. We need to continuously work them so that they know they're needed. So, if you want to be confident, you've got to always be practicing that, the routine, the ability to be confident. The mind monkeys that might come up when we have to practice getting and improving our mindset, so that mentally we are strong to take anything that comes. Emotionally we are strong to take anything that comes. So for me, the most important thing that I work on with my clients is that inner peace, and making sure that there's calm, and you truly know who you are and what you want. And then you can deal with what's next and what happens on the outside. Does that make sense?
Absolutely and utterly. And I talk about balance, and that it's not I have balance or I get to balance. It's I am balancing. It is a verb. It is, like you say, it's a practice. It's something that we're always doing. And I love the fact that you talked about self-awareness. And for me, it's about being conscious. It's about being reflective. It's about being aware of who I am as a person, what I'm doing, the choices I'm making, where I'm making those choices from. How is my balancing? Are they good choices that are supporting me? Or is my balance maybe a little out of whack? So I need to maybe just come back to center before I make any big choices, because if I'm making them from a position of being out of balance, that's the kind of choice they are. So if I can come back to center, then I'll make choices that are better for me.
Self-awareness is so important because, so there's a really amazing writer, author, inspirational speaker called Don Miguel, and he wrote a book called The Four Agreements, and they're just 4 very simple principles to live life. And you know, it sort of steps on some of the things that you've just mentioned. One of them's about being impeccable with your word, which sounds like, what does that mean, Maria? And that is all about, you know, what you say and what you do is aligned to truly what you believe and what you think. That doesn't mean that if you're having a conversation with someone and you heartily disagree with them, then, you know, you go full pelt and tell them, because again, being impeccable with your word means you're being aware of how your word will impact others. So, you know, that again, self-awareness, knowing how you respond, how you speak to people, what you think, and therefore the reaction, the response that you're going to get back. He talks about don't make assumptions, which is amazing, because as human race, we're constantly like filling the gaps with assumptions. And an example I give is, say you text your friend, who typically, when you text her, she texts back immediately. But on this one occasion, you didn't get an instant reply. So then the mind monkeys come in and start filling the gaps. So, oh my word, you know, you might go down the track of, is everything okay? Is she okay? Has something happened to her? Or you go down the other track of, oh my goodness, when we had that chat the other day and I said this, I saw the look on her face. I know it upset her. Right, she's not talking to me. When actually what may have happened is she went to press send, but she got distracted. So she forgot that she didn't send the text. So all he says is, don't make assumptions. Look at the facts. You sent a text and you haven't had a reply yet. It's that simple. And, you know, it stops you from getting all emotional and building up those stresses. Just look at the facts. Don't make assumptions. He talks about don't take things personally. Again, brilliant. It's just a really simple, which for me is all about when you get a response from somebody, we do take it personally because we think it is about us, when actually the way that somebody responds to you also comes from a place for that individual, from the stories that they're telling themselves and the assumptions that they've built up. So again, it's a case of don't take it personally. I know it's really easy for me to say, and it is a daily practice, and I do take stuff personally. But, you know, we could just go, well, you know, yes, that person's having their 5 minutes of a wobble. It's not about me. It's about them. Our lives would be a lot more calmer. And then the final
just to be able to have that step back, that pause. Oh, that felt bad, but that's me taking it personally, and I don't need to, because there is all that stuff going on potentially in the other person. So what I could do is be impeccable with my language and ask them.
Yeah, you could. And the final one, which I love the final one, mainly because hopefully it sort of brings us a bit down when it comes to, you know, the expectations we set on ourselves. And he talks about doing your best. And somebody might go to me, oh no, but, you know, I can't always do my best. And he puts it into context, and he says, doing your best means doing your best based on how you are feeling in that moment. So as a mum, definitely currently, my children's sleeping is a bit off. So, you know, I'm not having the best night's sleep. So I know when I'm waking up in the morning, my best does not look the same as if I've had a full night's sleep. And therefore, I shouldn't expect of myself the same as if I had a good night's sleep. Similar, you know, if you wake up in the morning and you've developed a cold overnight, or you're just feeling not yourself, you're feeling a bit off balance, you know, to use your word, then it's okay. You just do your best. If you can look in the mirror, I think he actually says this, if you can look in the mirror and say, I did everything I could based on where I'm at now and how I'm feeling, you've done your best. And that is good enough. And nobody can expect anything more. So if you haven't read the book, you do know the book, don't you, Robin?
I have on my shelf there. It's a little, just like a pocket version, where it just has basically, I don't think there's much, if any, explanation. It is just the 4 agreements. And I love that it's so simple. I am a big fan of simple.
Me too.
And you know, that it is, he has just condensed it down into the little nuggets of be impeccable with your word. Do your best. You know, that makes it really easy to remember and easy to do, because we're not thinking, what was that again? And how do I do that? It's just, and it therefore really, for me, it just kind of stills things down instantly, because you just, it's like 2 words, 4 words on a page. You can feel just that. And it kind of, which links in with what you were saying about if you wake up with a cold, or you wake up and you're really tired because you haven't slept well. The expectations that we put on ourselves of, I have to do my best, and that means this is this. Whereas if you just says, do my best. And there is no expectation of me that I have to be something. I can just be tired. And I can just say to people, I'm tired today and I'm really struggling today. And then it's so much easier for me to be nice to people, because I'm not thinking, I have to put this front on and I feel horrible inside and my insides aren't matching my outsides. And then I'm feeling bad about feeling bad. Because I love Jamie McCansh from See No Bounds, that we both know. And he just says, I'm having a muddy puddle day. And you don't have to say anything more than that. People just instantly know what you mean. And then, okay, how can I support you? And then if I can be impeccable with my word and say, right, today what I need is X, Y, Z, and then we're cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows.
Yeah. And it's not fluffy. Sorry, go on, Robin.
Just without having to say, I'm having a muddy puddle day because this has happened. I can just say I'm having a muddy puddle day. Okay, I'll respect the fact that you're struggling today for whatever reason. And that's enough. And then I ask you how you want supported. You tell me, we're all clear. It's all good. No assumptions.
It is exactly. It's just keeping it, like you said, it's keeping things really simple. And it's a really good framework from which, to live your life, a good solid principles that, well, why wouldn't you?
Yes, why don't we? And it's a great one, I think, for mums as well, parents, anybody who's looking after raising children, because it's such a fantastic way to raise the children and a fantastic role model to be for them. If I'm being impeccable with my word, if I'm not making assumptions, if I'm doing my best, what better role model could you have as a child?
Exactly. And we were saying before we came on live, I was saying to you how my daughter's she's got her sports day today, and she said, Mummy, I will be disappointed if I don't win. And my immediate response was, yeah, go and win. No, I didn't. My immediate response was, as long as you do your best, that's all you can ask of yourself, because there will be some children who will be faster than you. There'll be other children who you are faster than. It's just about doing your best, and that is all you can do. And she was like, okay. I actually found myself going, that was a good parent moment. Well done. And the other thing that I want to say is, in life, we are going to fall over, and that is completely fine. Fall over as many times as you want. The one thing that you must always do is learn from your falling over. That's the one thing. The next thing is you get back up and you keep going. You might go in the same direction. You might go, oh, I don't think that's the right direction then. I'll change direction. But as long as you learn and you get up, life's going to be amazing. And failure is the best way of learning.
Well, it's first attempt in learning. That's what FAIL, F-A-I-L, stands for. And it's not a failure, it's feedback.
Yes.
This is how I've learned to change my perspective, because I was very much somebody who failed on a regular basis. But now, having learned that, I can see that it is just a step in my learning.
Yeah.
Because life didn't end. So it wasn't a fail. It's like balancing. It's a verb. So failing is not the end. It's just, oh, I've done something and I've learned something, even if it's only, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, it's all learning, and it's all then a part of our growth. And I love also the idea that we are constantly learning. We're just always, every day's a school day. And so life is always, there's always something interesting. There's always something new. And for me, it's when we can just approach it with openness, approach it with awareness and consciousness and curiosity and compassion for when we do fall down. And we're human, we make mistakes. Yeah. It's okay.
It is okay. You can tell I like books. There's another brilliant book I'm reading at the moment. I'm not reading, I'm listening because I'm an Audible fan. Second time I've been listening to it, and it's Limitless by Jim Quick. Oh my word, brilliant book. And he talks about the brain. I'm fascinated by the brain and the body. And he says, you know, I'm going to go back to it because he says, your brain is a muscle and you need to exercise it, because that's the way you grow the capacity and you grow as an individual and you learn more. And we should be hungry to learn, and not necessarily learn and go, yep, I totally agree. You know, absorb stuff, go at it with an open mind. Don't assume you know it. And then say, right, how is this going to benefit me? How can I use this? When am I going to use this? Because it's great either reading or listening to something and taking it in. But actually, unless you're applying it to life, or you've made that conscious decision that you're going to do something with it, whether you say, yeah, this fits in my life, or no, it doesn't. But unless you make that decision and then move that one step further, you haven't actually learned anything. You know, you might say, oh, I know that. Well, if you're not using it, you don't actually know it. It's just something somebody told you.
And there's a difference. My boss in my first job used to say, between knowing it here and knowing it here. It's just make that drop, where it's not just like Hermione in Harry Potter would say, it's not just book smarts. It's actual, like they talk about, you know, experiential learning, where I'm applying it, I'm putting it into practice, I'm using it. And for me too, it's when we can make those connections. I've learned that, that I've got a whole new perception and a new understanding of something. It's added a new layer, it's added depth, it's made it more rounded. That's what I love about learning, when you can start joining up dots and this looks completely different now because I've learned that.
I think my biggest learning has been, and it's listening. It is listening to Limitless. You know, he says, whenever you approach learning, it is that being open-minded, being ready to learn something new. So you might take a book out on a subject that you know something about, but approach it from the point of view of you know nothing. Because if you approach it from the view of you know something, you've already come at it from a certain perspective, and potentially you've already put restrictions on what you're going to hear and what you're going to learn, which, you know, consider we're adults. We have been, I'm going to say, conditioned, because, you know, we've been on a journey, we've got to where we are. We're already like, well, we know this, I know that, and I know the other. And just to try and unlearn that and say, okay, then, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to absorb this with a fresh pair of eyes, and I'm going to come at it as if I know nothing. You're more likely to see the gold nuggets that come up and experience a wow moment and true learning, rather than go, oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, no. What's the next bit? Move on. Go on, move on.
I did a course years ago, which was based on the book by Andrew Cohen called Evolutionary Enlightenment, and it talks about beginner's mind, coming at everything with a beginner's mind.
That's exactly the case. It is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, like children will just, if you want to learn anything about life, I think we should observe children, because we can learn so much from our kids, so much from children. They just, because they don't already have these preconceived ideas about life and what you should and you shouldn't do. You know, you just need to watch them when they first start to learn to walk. Can you imagine if, you know, they got up to walk, took their first step, fell over, and then went, "Oh, that's it. Sorry, I'm not walking again. I obviously can't do it."
No.
Because, you know, bless them, they literally know nothing yet, but they don't let anything stop them. They've decided they're going to walk, or they've decided they're going to talk, or they've decided whatever, they're going to have a go at something.
Well, everybody else does it, therefore why shouldn't I be able to?
And that's how, you know, we as adults, I'm sure I've written a blog post about how about how we can learn by being more childlike, and just living life through the eyes of a child, and taking all those great ideas and the way they see the world. And, you know, the world would be a much better place, I think, if children ran it.
If they're so curious, if we could have that kind of curiosity, why is the sky blue? Why does this do that? Why does this look that way? Why is it just why? And that's something that I do in my work. Just why? And why that? Why does that happen? But why does that happen in that way? And just trace it back as far as you can go, like a child going, why? So you give them an answer, why? So you give them an answer, why? But it's because there is so much more. The answer that you've given is not the depth of the answer that they want. They just know, yeah, but there's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. There's another layer. Let's go find that other layer.
It is. It's just amazing. It's amazing. It just, yeah, I'm just in awe of my children. There are moments where I just sit and observe. I might look like a crazy lady, but I just sit and I just look at them and I think, wow, you know, to be a child again, and just to see the world through children's eyes, and they just amaze me. We can. You're right. We can.
In my 4 pillars, my first pillar, W, is wonder. Just being, you know, taking that time to sit as if you were a child and just look at something in just, wow. I mean, really, wow. Whatever it is. Because I'm sure there are most things that we can just look at, and if you think about it, wow. Even the simplest of things, just maybe something, even, it doesn't have to be nature. Nature is my thing, but it could be something that man has made, something even simple like a spoon. It's just wow. You know, we can be wow about anything if we just allow ourselves to be. We
can. Yeah, and it goes back to what you're saying, you know, it's that, it's being comfortable, being curious, rather than thinking that we need to know everything and we have the answers to everything. And, you know, that's one thing. I've learned many things from my children and from being a parent. But, you know, one of the things is that I will quite happily say to them, that's a really good question. And do you know what? I don't have the answer. What do you think the answer is? Or let's go and find out what the answer is. But being comfortable knowing that I don't have to have the answer, because in all honesty, there is not one single person who has all the answers to everything. And that's so unattainable. Why would you want to? You know, you're taking out the wow from life if you are, you know, the all-knowing being. So, yeah, being curious, asking why, having an open mind, not assuming that you know it or you know some of it. It just, you know, it gives you freedom as well.
And that kind of idea of being able to not know, we're conditioned to need to know. I need to know because somebody might ask me and I won't have the answer and that will be terrible. And it relates kind of for me to Brene Brown and her concept of vulnerability and how it's actually a strength. If we can just see it from a different perspective, see the fact that I don't know not as being, oh, it's going to be terrible, like being at school and I don't have the answer and the teacher's going to point at me and then they're going to shout at me and make me look stupid in front of the whole class. Instead, to be able to see, well, maybe I don't know, but then if I'm interested to know, I can go and find out, and maybe I can learn something not only about what I am looking at, but also something else, because always it gives me a new perspective.
Yeah, do you know what? When you were saying that, it reminded me of when I used to be in the corporate world, and you had to know the answers, and it's just like, well, this is ridiculous. You know, you're bound to ask me a question where I don't know the answer because, well, first of all, I can't read your mind. And second of all, why would I have all the answers? Why should I be expected to have all the answers? But in this world we live in today, there is that expectation that we need to know the answer and to preempt what's going to happen next. And that's why I go back to what we said earlier. It's all about being comfortable on the inside and being at peace on the inside, so that when you are in that seemingly awkward situation, because it is awkward, you know, it's just like, well, what am I going to answer? What, you know, I don't want to say I don't know. Heaven forbid, if I was to say I don't know, I would look silly. Nobody wants to look silly, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying, I didn't think about that. I don't know that one. And it's really, and to be comfortable saying it and not to worry about what anybody else thinks. It's the truth. You're being vulnerable. You're not being, you know, you're not being vulnerable for the sake of being vulnerable. You're just being yourself, and that is okay.
It's just being open and being honest, which can leave us feeling very vulnerable because we feel very exposed. And we have learnt, unfortunately, that being exposed sometimes is not at all a nice place to be. And we've just had a Facebook user, unfortunately, that's all I'm getting is Facebook user no name, but they're saying Plato and Brene Brown rock it. They're ace, both of them.
Brene, she is
many
awesome.
more. Yeah. So you also support people in creating good habits around all of this. What can you share a little bit about that? What sort of good habits, or how do you support people around that?
So, do you know what? It all came about because I was having this interesting conversation with someone over why do we find it really easy to have a bad habit, but it's so difficult to form a good habit. And it just got, I was just like, oh, you know, I was being curious. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Where's that come from then? Why is that? Because why is it so difficult? And I actually started, here you go, another book, but I've forgotten the author, Atomic Habits. And it basically, there are a number of things that I go through with my clients. But the first thing is that I always talk to my clients about is the motivation behind either breaking a bad habit or forming a new one. And it goes back to the tough love bit that you said at the beginning. I am very honest with my clients, and I say, if you don't want to do something, it doesn't matter whether you think you should or you think you can. If you don't want to do it, I'm telling you right now, it isn't going to happen. And even if you try to do it, it's going to be really hard, and you'll feel like you're pushing up against a brick wall. So if you want to break a bad habit, or if you want to form a good habit, you need to understand and truly accept and take with both hands the real reason why you want to do this. And it's got to be personal. It's got nothing to do with, well, you know, my mum's always saying to me, I should stop biting my nails. Yeah, but that's what your mum's saying. Do you want to stop biting your nails? I know that's a really bad example, but, you know, it's the first thing that came out of my head. If you want to stop biting your nails, and it's because, you know, you want nice nails. You don't want your nails to be bleeding, or, you know, you don't want your children to start biting their nails. Find the actual reason. Oh, it's an awful example. Find the real reason, the real motivation for you, why you want to either break a habit or create a new habit. I mean, you know, for women, the one that comes up time and time again will be, I just need to lose weight. I just want to fit into that bikini. And it's a case of, yeah, but why do you want to lose weight? what's the real reason, other than you think you should lose weight because somebody has told you you're like 10 pounds overweight or whatever? What is the real reason you want to lose weight? Or why do you want to get into that bikini? Because once you're in the bikini, then what's going to happen? Have you reached your goal? Or are you going to then put on the weight because actually you've reached your goal? So, it's all about understanding what your why is and what's the motivation behind it, so that you have 100% committed yourself to doing it. Because if you haven't got that commitment there, it just isn't going to happen. The other thing is, the next step is baby steps. We create these huge goals for ourselves, and then when we don't see some kind of change, when we don't like reap the benefit, we're like, oh, that was a waste of my time, wasn't it? Why did I do that? Oh God, obviously I'm not supposed to. It's just not going to happen. So like baby steps. I remember talking to a client a few weeks ago, and she wanted to start exercising. And I said to her, well, what is the first step you can take? Put on your trainers. It doesn't matter if you don't actually leave the house. You've put on your trainers. That is your first step. And then the next day, put on your trainers and then step out the door. And then the next day, put on your trainers, step out the door and run to the end of the road. Do things that you can see you are getting, not the benefit, but you can see your progress. Because then that will motivate you to take the next step and the next step. Because if I said to you, right, you want to start running as part of your exercise, right, go and run a marathon. You'd go to me, no, don't be so, how can I run a marathon? You must be joking. The thought of running 26 miles no, it's not my cup of tea.
Running 1 mile.
Yeah. But if I said to you, I just want you to run 10 meters, you'd be like, I can do that. 10 meters, I can do 10 meters. That's all right. I don't want you to do anything else. Put your trainers on and run 10 meters. And you'll go, right, I can do that. So it's all about baby steps. The next thing I talk about is repeat, repeat, repeat. So the ideal for it to become a habit, we want to move it into our autopilot. We want to be able to do it and not even think about it. And the way we do that is repeat, repeat, repeat. So if you want to exercise, if you want to get into your running, I say that because I am a bit of a runner, just a tiny bit, then do it regularly. Don't sort of wake up on a Monday, go for a jog on a Monday, just to the end of the road and back again, and then go, right, I'll go again in a month, because you've actually done nothing. You might as well have not done it in the first place. So whatever the habit is, do it regularly, whether that's you have to do it 10 times in a day, or at least do it every day, or whatever. Keep on doing it. And like we were saying, if you fall over, if one day you get up and you forget or you don't do it, that doesn't mean you go, oh, right, that's it, I'm not going to do it again. Okay, you had a bad day. These things happen. When you wake up the next day, get back on the horse and do it again. Just keep on repeating, and I'm not a scientist, but it's all to do with the pathways in the brain, and the more you do something, it's like, when you go out for a walk and you see where people have walked, it's because they've tread that same path over and over again, and that's what's happening in our brains, and that's why it becomes part of our autopilot.
Yeah, and they say a minimum of 21 days to create a new habit. So if after that first week you have a day that doesn't happen and you then struggle to get back into it, that's because you haven't yet created that habit. So just again on the following day, okay, I'm going to get back and I'm going to do that again consciously until it does become a habit. But also the awareness that to break an old habit is more difficult than to create a new one. So put your energy into creating new, not into breaking old. So it's that be the change.
Yeah. Who said that? Be the change you want to see. I can't remember.
That was Gandhi, I think.
That's it. I think you're right. I also talk about rewarding yourself, because that's the thing about a bad habit. You get like instant gratification usually from the bad habit. Whereas, when we're trying to form a new one, especially if you want to get fit, because you want to get fit because you want to be able to go and play with your children without getting out of breath. Well, that'll take a while. So to sort of, I was going to say, trick yourself into getting that gratification of being able to reward yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, but like something that means something, so that you can acknowledge the progress that you have made, rather than just going, oh, well, I'm just trying to do this, but nothing's actually happening. So reward yourself, so important. And then eventually you won't need to reward yourself, because you'll feel the benefits of whatever the habit is.
The thing itself will become the reward.
Exactly. And then finally, and I'm going to merge this into two. On one hand, it's removing the obstacles that stop you from the habit. And then on the other hand, it's putting in place things that mean that the habit is easy. So if you want to give up chocolate, removing the obstacle would be maybe not having the chocolate in your house, but then, that's a bit unfair. Maybe put it on a shelf. That means, you have to get a little step to get to the chocolate. And as a substitute, rather than reaching for the chocolate, reach for your favorite piece of fruit and put the fruit bowl somewhere where you pass regularly. So your brain sort of goes, oh, well, I need that sugar kick. I'll have a banana, or I'll have that really sweet, ripe orange. So you've removed the obstacle because the chocolate is out the way and it's just too much hassle to go and get it. But look, I've made it easy for myself, and I've put a fruit bowl where I can see it, where I pass. So again, it's all about making your life easy.
Definitely.
Simple. Keep it simple. We go back to it. Just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate stuff.
Definitely not. And you talked a little bit about managing the inner voice as well. And this is something that I'm passionate about, because our self-talk plays such a role in how we feel, and in our overall well-being, and in the breaking of the habits, and the why of the breaking of the habits, and the why sometimes maybe we don't think that we can, and we tell ourselves that we can't. And we have a subconscious. It's not even like it has to be a voice with words. It can even just be a feeling inside, and that feeling of, am I even worth doing this? So how do you support people who really struggle in that area, as so many of us do, because we've internalized all these voices we hear over the years? How do you support them around that?
So I have a great quote for you first, which is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you are right. And they're not the exact words, but it's something that Henry Ford said, and it is completely right. If you are telling yourself you cannot do something, don't be surprised when you cannot do it. And the same way, if you are telling yourself you can do it, then you will do it. And that just shows the power of thought. So with my clients, I talk through, first of all, your thoughts are not you. They are thoughts. You have a choice on what you do with that thought. The way you respond, the way you talk is within your authority, your power. And the first thing is, I say to my clients, when you have a thought, look at it and say, right, is that reality? Do I know that to be true? Because our brains, and you know this, Robin, our brains are there, or the thoughts are there to keep us safe. We have to go back hundreds of years when it was all about protecting the species and making sure that you didn't die when you left the cave. Whereas, the dangers today are not the same, but that part of the brain hasn't evolved in the same way. So it's a case of holding that thought and going, is that true? Do I know it to be true? Where's the evidence for it to be true? But also acknowledging that it is a thought, because it's come from somewhere and it means something. So if we ignore it, all you're doing is just pushing it down and, in a way, waiting for it to grow and grow and grow. So it's acknowledging it, it's understanding it, and then it's going, thank you, I've heard you, but that doesn't serve me, and then letting it go. And again, I know that I know people will be listening to this going, oh, really, you make it sound so easy. And again, it is practice, because, you know, I still practice this. I still have negative thoughts that pop into my head, and I have to go, oh my word, what am I saying to myself? What is that? Where is that coming from? What am I going to do with that? So it goes back to everything that I've said, you know, daily practice of stuff. You cannot just go, right, well, all right, then I'm managing my thoughts now, it's fine, not a problem. It's not, it's a daily practice. So,
and our brains are hardwired to be negative because, well, that part of our brain is there to filter everything. Is this a danger? Is this a threat? Is this going to hurt me? Might this kill me? So that is a very negative bias on everything. And they will, you know, that part of our brain will throw in these little thoughts. Is that okay? Is that safe? Maybe it's not safe. I could be hurt. But it's only trying to keep us safe. So for me, I encourage people to just go, recognize that that's where that's coming from. Say, thank you very much for trying to keep me safe. But actually, I'm going to look at the rest of the evidence as well, or whatever, because we, you know, if you just say, is there evidence to say that's true? I could easily say, oh, yes, there's tons of evidence to say that's true. Even though somebody else might not see that evidence, to me, it's there. It's real. And like you say, it's acknowledging that too. But supposing that wasn't the only truth, supposing there was another truth as well, not that you can't do something because you could come up with 100 reasons for that, but maybe there's evidence that you have done it in the past.
Exactly.
Let's focus on that and see.
Because our inner voice isn't, like you said, neither bad or good.
No, just
it's just there. It's just there, and it has a purpose, and that's why it's not the right thing, you know, from my opinion, that we do. But we try to suppress it because that's not helpful to you, to us. Because if you suppress it, it means you're not doing anything with it, and it's allowed to bubble away, which, you know, at some point it's going to come and bite you. So you need to deal with it in a kind way, so that you're kind to yourself as well. But yeah, you know, the brain for me, just amazing. The body is amazing. I think, you know, if we paid more attention to what was going on in our minds, and how, like, daily life manifests itself in our body, we would be like on fire in a positive way, you know. So, you know, it is all the answers we need about ourselves are within this vessel. We just need to be quiet long enough to hear what's going on
and to listen. And for me, it's like developing a vocabulary. So what is my body telling me? And all the things that, all the little messages and the little niggles and the little twinges or nudges, what are they saying to me? But if I'm not listening, I'm not going to learn that language. So it's about tuning in and starting to know, oh, that, for me, that little nudge lets me know that my gut brain is telling me, watch out, pay attention here, or whatever it might be.
Selective hearing. You know, we do it with our children, we have selective hearing. But we have selective hearing when it comes to our bodies as well. You know, when your arm hurts, or like you said, when you've got a niggle, this is your body whispering to you. So listen before it starts shouting. I think there's a lovely lady called Sarah Thompson who's she's a kinesiologist, and, you know, I had a fascinating conversation with her, and she was saying, you know, listen to the whispers of your body before it starts shouting, because when it starts shouting, that's when things become more difficult. When it's whispering,
well, it just stops you. It says, if you're not going to take a rest, I'm going to make you. I've got a friend who years ago, just suddenly her back went, she couldn't get out of bed. So she had no choice then but to rest, because she could not get out of bed. And our bodies will do this if we repeatedly don't listen.
They will.
So on that note, it leads us into another thing we were going to look at today, self-care. And the fact that self-care is not just, oh, it's a nice thing to have, it's an optional extra. No,
it's not. Self-care is not a fad. It's not something that a term that we've overused. It's a must. And I think the thing about self-care is that, well, I think first of all, people don't know what it is, because we say self-care, and that doesn't, it's open to interpretation, isn't it? And also that if you do know what it is, it has to be like this big thing that you do. You know, you have to invest money for self-care, when actually that's nonsense. And ironically, I've just finished writing 30 feel-good free habits, because self-care is free. You don't have to invest any money. And it's its simplest form. It's about looking after, I sounded really, where did that come from? Looking after our well-being, how we are, ourselves. Filling our cup is obviously like a term that is used a lot. Because if you are not looking after yourself, you cannot be at your best, and therefore you cannot be at a stage where you can look after your loved ones. And, you know, especially being a mum, you want to be looking after your children, looking after your family. But if you're not paying attention to yourself and looking after yourself, then you're not going to be in a place, you're not going to be at your best where you can look after those around you. And it goes back to another thing that I continuously repeat is, it's like when you get on an aeroplane, or when we can get back on the aeroplane, you know, the air stewards say to you, put your own oxygen mask on first before you attempt to help anyone else. And for a while I was just like, well, yeah, obviously, but, you know, if there's somebody struggling, surely you should. The pure fact is, if you cannot breathe, because that's where it could get to, you cannot help anyone else. And that is the same thing in life. You know, that's the analogy you can use. So just the simple things that give you me time, and just allow you some time to reflect, some time to simply step out of a situation and then come back. So, you know, a really easy one is set some good boundaries, so that, you know, you're not available to everybody 24/7, or there are certain things that you do want to do and certain things that you don't want to do. Whatever those boundaries need to be for you, so that you can like protect yourself, but obviously like tell people about them as well, so that they're not unknowingly stepping over the mark. Go for a walk. That getting out in nature, we know the benefits of nature, and, you know, the outdoors, and I don't need to tell you, Robin, because, you know, you live in a beautiful part of the world and you are surrounded by stunning nature. Taking a bath, if you like baths, you know, just like 10 minutes in a bath, just to be there with your thoughts and just to reflect and think about life. And my last one on the list, so there's 30, and this one, I know people will get to the bottom and go, what, really? Sit and do nothing.
Non-fun niente. Don't do it. And just the joy of doing nothing.
Yeah, just do nothing. Sit, carve out 10 minutes to sit and do nothing. And there's nothing wrong with doing nothing, because I think far too often, you know, we feel either guilty, or we feel like we're being selfish if we carve out time for ourselves, when that is not the case. We only think of the word selfish and guilty being negative because of the way we use those words. But there's nothing wrong with being selfish when it comes to your self-care and your own. It's your own maintenance, really. You know, it's maintenance on you, and there's nothing to be guilty about.
And again, it's a really good way of showing I give myself permission to do this, because I know that it's good for my well-being, and therefore I'm saying the same to everybody else around me.
Yeah, good role model behaviour.
Yeah, as a mum, do you want to be the yes person, the people pleaser, if that's what you're then teaching your children? Because you don't want your children to be in that situation. You don't want your children to be burning themselves out. So when we can show that, yeah, I need to take some time for me, and perhaps you'd also benefit from taking some time for you. This is how we look after ourselves. This is how we make sure. And the doing nothing is actually being. We never take the time to just be if we're always busy. And then we lose our groundedness, we lose our balance, because we're just running around. We have no connection with the ground beneath us. We're running so fast.
That's why it's good to just sometimes sit with your feet firmly planted on the ground, so you've got that like proper connection with the ground, and you're helping yourself to become grounded because of it. And just like sit outside, do nothing, and just sit outside and be grounded, be in nature, and like feel connected.
And on that wonderful note, thank you so much, Maria, for being such a fabulous guest and sharing such amazing, many nuggets of wisdom.
You're welcome. It's been so lovely. Oh, I could just sit here and talk for another hour, but soon I think I'm going to have to go and get the children. Yeah.
So thank you very much for watching. And if you're tuning into this as a replay, just stick in a comment with #replay. And if you've enjoyed the conversation that we've had today and you're interested in the topics, so self-care, being mindful, being open, being curious, then stay in the group and share the group maybe with others as well. So that's the Wild Wisdom Wellbeing group on Facebook, in case you're watching this on YouTube or listening into the podcast. And also just to say that my newsletter is going out next week if you'd like to sign up for that as well. And I'll stick the link in with the post for this video. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. I hope you're having sunshine like we're having here, wherever you are. And I'll see you again next week with another great guest. Bye for now.